Hello, Year 5, and welcome to our second of our verbal reasoning tutorial sessions with, yes, me, Mr. Todd. Today we are talking about and looking at selecting words, and there's 8 types of questions in this group. Combining two words to make new words, choosing pairs of opposites, finishing one word and beginning the next, find a prefix, make new words by adding or removing letters, changing letters to make new words, selecting the best words to make a complete sentence, and finding a connection to complete a sentence or pair of words. So there's actually quite a lot for us to get through. I'm not sure how long this will take. I think the last session was about 40 minutes, so hopefully about the same. So I'm going to move to the next slide. When we combine two words to make new words, with this type of question, you have to identify two separate words. Let me just expand this part here if I can. There we go, that's a little bit better. And this relies on your knowledge of compound words as well as on your ability to look at a word and notice other words within it. So if we look at this example here, underline two words, one from each group that go together to form a new word. And the first word in the group always comes first. So you've got hand, green, and for, and then light, house, and shore. Now, this example, we're just working through the question. So we're going from left to right, and take each word in turn from the left group and add it to each word in the right group. So as you read each pair of words, ask yourself, do these two words go together to make a new sensible word? So you've got hand light, hand house, hand shore. Nope. Green light, greenhouse, green shore. Yes, greenhouse is for plants and is made of glass. And then you've got for light, for house, and for shore, not for sure. The two words that go together to make a new compound word, therefore, are green and house. So in this second variation, two shorter words are combined to make one new longer word. The short words often have a different pronunciation when put together to make the new word. So again, we look carefully at the spelling of the new longer word as well as saying it in your head. You're not going to be able to sit there in an entrance exam and read these things out loud. So let's have a look at B. Underline two words, one from each group that go together to form a new word. The word in the first group always comes first. So you've got care, be, make, on, am, and off. So I have a little 30-second timer for you to answer this question. Off you go. Let's get rid of that. And let's have a look how we got on. So we had care on, care am, care off. No. Be on, be am, and be off. Be am. Make on, make am, make off. Now, obviously, we've got a tick there next to be am, but if we join those together, it's not be am, is it? It's beam. So that's the one, and actually quite a tricky one, okay, when you think about it, because you're likely to go be am, beam, hopefully. So saying the two words separately, be and am, they don't seem to make sense of a word, but obviously reading them together as one word, they make beam. Beam is not classed as a true compound word, but it is still formed by putting two words together. And notice that the pronunciation of the whole word beam does not include the separate sound of the word am. So, a good point to remember here, if you think you've found the right answer to a question before you finished looking through all the options, Do still check the remaining words to be sure you've made the right choice. So now it's your turn, Year 5. Underline 2 words from each group that go together to form a new word. The word in the first group always comes first. You have 2 minutes. Okay, I actually think 2 minutes was quite long for that one, but hey ho, I'm generous like that. You all know that 5T. So let's have a look at the answers. Handsome, office, and slipway. So slipway may not be the one that you recognize, but that's something actually that you probably saw when we went to Llandudno, slipway, the sort of sloped surface that our lifeboat would go down, okay, to enter the water would be the slipway. So hope you got all 3 of those. Don't worry if you didn't. Again, as I said last week, this is all just really good practice. Okay, so let's move on to the next part. We've already looked at sorting words to find the most opposite pair, and this similar question is also testing your vocabulary and knowledge of antonyms. So antonyms is the opposite in meaning, okay? So here are 2 ways that these questions may be presented. You've got underline the pair of words most opposite in meaning. So you've got cup, mug, coffee, milk, hot, cold. So I don't want you to sort of write anything down. It's just looking at this as an example. So for each pair, note down how the 2 words are related in order to identify the pair that are most opposite. Again, it's sort of a case of working from left to right, writing the links as you think of them, and hopefully making it easier for yourself. So let's look at this table. You've got cup, mug, both containers for drinks, so they're not opposites. Coffee, milk, both drinks often mixed together, so they're not opposite. Hot, cold, yes, measures of different temperature values. So the word pair, hot, cold, must be the answer, and those would be the ones that you would underline. Let's have another look at an example here. Underline the 2 words, one from each group, which are the most opposite in meaning. You've got dawn, early wake, late, stop, and sunrise. So when you get a question in this form, so this style of question, again, work through each word in the first group and think about what each word means and what its opposite might be, its antonym. Then compare the antonyms you have thought of with each of these three words in the right-hand group to find out which antonym is closest to one of the options given. So you've got the word on the left, dawn. What's that mean? It's sunrise, okay? Dawn can be a name, but that would be a capital D. Antonym, dusk. We've talked about this in science. So does that mean late, stop, or sunrise? No. Sorry, what's the antonym? Early, meaning before time. The antonym is late. Okay, so yes, we've got late, stop, and sunrise. So at the minute, we've got a tick there for late. And then wake. What does wake mean? It means being conscious. The opposite of that is being asleep. So sleep. So does late or stop or sunrise match that as an antonym? So the words early and late are underlined, as early is the opposite of late. Now, you're not going to have all of that time to be writing a table like that with headings and doing crosses and ticks. You're just not going to have that time, year 5. This is just showing you the way that you logically work through the question, and you have got to be really fast-paced with these questions. So now it's your turn. And that lovely piece of music lovers, was by Mozart, and it was his Andante. Hope you enjoyed that and you've not fallen asleep. You had 2 minutes for that. That is way more than enough time to answer these questions. You won't have 2 minutes. I think those of you that sat the mock papers will realize you have something like, I'm sure it's like either 60 or 80 questions. It's a lot of questions that you've got to complete in 50 minutes. So you've got to be really zipping through these. Let's have a look how we've got on. Okay, so underline the pair of words most opposite in meaning, torrent and trickle. So torrent, you might have a torrential rainfall, okay? A torrent of water, okay? So the opposite of that is trickle. And for 1B, it's detach and join. If you think about detached houses, they are separate. If you detach something, you separate it, okay? So detach and join are opposite. If you are rash in making your decisions, you don't think about it, you just do it. You might be rash in something that you say and then totally regret saying that to Mr. Todd. So rash and cautious. And then B, you can either persuade somebody to do something or discourage them to do it. Okay, so persuade is, come on, let's do this, and discourage, no, I don't think we should do this. Otherwise, we'll get a dinner time out. So those are your examples and answers there. Hope you did okay. Like I said, you had plenty of time with 2 minutes. Next, with this type of question, you've got to finish one word and begin the next. This type of question tests your spelling skills as well as your vocabulary knowledge and can be presented in 3 different ways. You're required to choose a letter to start or end a group of letters to make them into proper words. The first example just has 1 pair of words. The second form uses 2 pairs of words. And the third form or third type of this question has 1 pair of words, but this time requires 2 letters. So let's have a look at this first type. It says find the letter which will end the first word and start the second word. And I bet loads of you are thinking E because that's peace. And you'd be wrong because then you'd have eom, okay, which we know is not a word. So you may be thinking of the letter straight away, but don't just write that in, okay? One of the easiest ways to tackle this type of question is to use your knowledge of the alphabet. Go through each letter, potentially, and you can do that quickly in your head, adding it to the end of the first group of letters and ask yourself these questions. Does the letter make a proper word? And if so, is it spelled correctly? And if you've got the answer yes in your head to that, write the word down and try the letter in front of the second group of letters. Then ask yourself the same question. When the answer is yes to both these, that is the answer. Okay, that's the answer. So we've got piece A, piece B, piece C, piece D, and then piece. Adding E makes peace, adding E makes eom. So we know that we can't add it to the second letter, like I said, for those of you who rushed in with that one. But let's have a look at adding H. You've got peach and you've got home. So that one works. And if it has to be tested against the second word and you've got your second pair of words or your 2 pairs of words, then you've worked it out. Okay, so this one, let's have a look at this. It says find 2 letters which will end the first word and start the second word. Now I'm hoping that you've got this one fairly quickly. Okay, first think of as many 5-letter words as you can, but you're looking at that, you're going re, air. Then test each pair of letters that ends these words at the beginning of the second set of letters and make sure it makes a proper second word in the answer. And again, you have not much time to do this, so this is where your spelling and your vocabulary knowledge comes in, year 5, because you need to be almost answering these questions instantaneously. Okay, so hopefully you've looked at these, brainstorm the words react, reach, ready, realm. Okay, and then we look at those react, CT, DY, CH, LM, and we put them next to air. Okay, CT, AIR, no. Chair, yes. DY, AIR, no. LMAIR, I hope you didn't sort of think that LMAIR, was a word. So it's CH that makes a proper second word and should be written in the brackets. It's your turn, you have 3 minutes. 2 minutes to go. No pressure, year 5. And with 1 minute to go, you should be now really checking your answers, making sure that each of those words that you've got actually make sense and are spelt correctly. And you are sat there really happy with your answers, with still 40 seconds to go. Okay, so your time is up. That was a very famous piece of classical music by Beethoven, and it was from his Fifth Symphony. Again, very dramatic piece of music that. Yeah, I'm going to switch up the music that we're playing over these questions. And I know you won't have music in exam, but I think it's sort of there to put a bit of pressure on you and basically sort of try and give that exam feeling sense of, I've got so many questions to answer. So let's have a look at the answers and hopefully lots of ticks on the way through. So for number 1A, we had wink and kind, so the letter was K. We had shovel and lever, so the letter was L. And we had reap and prime. Reap maybe not a word that you are so familiar with. Okay. Find the letter which will complete both pair of words, ending the first word and starting the second. So you had saw and rest. You saw like a bird, not as in saw, that's a sore wound. That's S-O-R-E. You had car and rake. Again, some of you may not know what a rake is, unless you're a keen gardener. We had clasp and polar. That's a tricky one, okay? Tricky one there. And then plump and punt. Now, punt can be a number of things. You can take a punt at something, have a go, or you can punt the ball, okay? And then the last question was 2 letters. You had wasp and spoon, so the 2 letters were S and P. And then I and D were for 3B, raid and idea. Okay, so I hope you've done okay with those questions. Don't worry if you've not answered them all. Your task is to try and answer as many as you can and pick up those marks. So if you've got, what were the 3, 5, 7 questions there, if you've got 5 of those 7, you've done really well there. Even 4 out of 7 is pretty good, but you've got to be trying picking up at least half of the marks for each of these sections. And you might be looking at these going, you know what, I found those really easy. I found that easier than the previous one, but at least then you're identifying types of questions that you are confident with. And there's no reason why you can't find these, look for them, answer them, and then go back to the ones you find a little bit trickier year 5. Okay, so moving on to the next section, which is find a prefix for a set of words. As with question type 8, these questions rely on you having a wide vocabulary and on your knowledge of compound words. I think you'll find that wide vocabulary year 5 is an essential part to be able to complete successfully a verbal reasoning type paper. In this type of question, you've got a set of words and you need to find one word that can be added in front of each in the set to make a new set of compound words. So let's have a look at this example. Don't want you to write anything down, just listen. Find a word that can be put in front of each of the following words to make new compound words. You've got cast, fall, ward, and pour. There is no quick systematic way to tackle these, such as working through the alphabet. One of the best methods is to start with a brainstorm. Note down as many compound words as you think of which end with the first word on the list. So broadcast, forecast, downcast, and overcast. And look, that's your vocabulary knowledge. Okay, that's your vocabulary knowledge right there. 4 words that you know end in cast. Then check the first part of each of these against the other words to see if they make a new compound word. And it's got to be correctly spelled. Broad fall, broad ward, broad pour. Forefall, forward, for pour. That's forward isn't right because it's forward is F-O-R-W-A-R-D. Downfall, yes. Downward, downpour. All of those are words spelled correctly. Overfall, overward, overpour. So down is the prefix that makes a new proper compound word with each of the others. So the answer is down. So a little bit of a light bulb. Remember, if you struggle to think of any compound words ending with the first word, you can start with any of the other words and follow the same checking process. So don't just sit there thinking about it. You have 1 minute.
To seek out new life and new civilizations. To boldly go where no man has gone before.
And yes, for all those Trekkies out there, that was the soundtrack to the original Star Trek series, which was filmed in the 60s. I'm not that old, but I do remember watching Star Trek. I think some of you would probably watch that now if you looked it up and find it quite funny with the special effects, but maybe your mum and dad can remember watching it as well. So let's have a look at these answers. So let's have a look. I is the prefix. Eyelet, eye drop, eyesight, and eye bath. Eyelet is the one that you may not know. Manhole, manhood, manpower, and mankind. And then last one, buttercup, butterfly, buttermilk, and butterscotch. I think that might have been probably the easiest one out of the 2. So hopefully you got 1 at least out of those prefix type questions. Okay, so let's look at the next section, the next type of question. This is where you make new words by adding or removing letters. In some reasoning questions, you're asked to make new words by either adding letters to a given word or removing letters from it. These questions test, guess what? Spelling skills. It's helpful to learn basic spelling rules in preparation for these, so you can prepare for verbal reasoning. What I will always suggest Year 5 is that you've just got to, if you're going to sit these papers, do lots of practice questions. Some of you I know may have tutors. What I'm teaching you today is just from a book that I picked up from Waterstones. So there's lots of material out there that you can buy for yourself if you haven't got a tutor. 11 plus verbal reasoning, and just work through loads of examples. And you get to become more familiar with the type of questions that you're answering. So in this first type, you have to select a letter to add to the beginning of all the given words, making new proper words out of each of them. So let's look at the example. Which one letter can be added to the front of all these words to make new words? So you've got A-R-E, A-T, R-A-T-E, and A-double-L. So R, at, rate, and all. Again, you don't need to answer this one. We're just looking at this as an example. So with this type of question, it says, again, you can use that sort of process of working through the alphabet, adding each letter in turn. So you've got bear, care, dare, fair, hair, mare, pear, rare, tear, where. Use each of these letters in front of the second word. Bat, cat, dat, fat, hat, mat, pat, rat, tat, wat. What is that all about? In this set, neither dat nor wat are proper words. If you thought wat was, then I think we need to be doing some more revision. So D and W can be discounted. The rest of the letters are tried with E with the next word. So you've got crate. This time only crate is a proper word. The final test is the C with the last word all. Call. Yes, you've got it. Call is a proper word. So the letter to add is C. Not all missing letters can be added at the beginning of a given set of words. In some questions, the letters may be added anywhere within the word, and for these questions, you cannot follow the same simple process. As there may be several possible positions for a missing letter, sometimes a clue will be given to help you find the correct letter and make the required word. I don't know about you, Year 5, but I'm sat here, I've got the patio doors open. I'm not sat outside, thankfully, with my laptop, but the rain is coming down. It's the Spain-France game is about to kick off shortly, which tells you when I'm recording this, but I'm committed to the cause. Year 5, I'm going to complete this recording before I go and watch the football. There is a parent tip on here, so parents, if you're in the background staring over your child's shoulder, trying to have a go at these questions yourself and thinking, oh my word, these are tricky. Your child is likely to have spelling lists from school. Help him or her to learn these well using look, say, cover, write, and check. We do that. He or she should find these questions much quicker and easier to do with sound spelling skills. Year 5, you've been doing spelling all year. Okay. And we've been talking about different words, using them in sentences, and developing your vocabulary. So let's look at this next example. Add one letter to the word in capital letters to make a new one. The meaning of the new word is given in the clue. So the word is plan. You've got to add a letter to that word to make it mean simple. Okay, and you can see here an example. Simple means easy, straightforward, plain. And there's the answer. Plain is clearly made by the addition of an I to the word plan. So plain is the answer. Oh my word, I've actually had to shut the door there because the sound of the rain was way too much. So let's look at this variation. This time you need to take away a letter instead of adding one. Now, aunt, A-U-N-T, or you might say ant or auntie, but I think that's so obvious. I'm not even going to run through these possible answers. An insect, you know that is ant, A-N-T. Always check the other options once you think you've got the answer, as there may be an even better one. You have 3 minutes. So our friend Beethoven again there, in his Fifth Symphony. Which one letter can be added to the front of all these words to make new words? So let's have a look at the answer. So the letter was S. You had sail, share, slate, star, and spear. And then for B, the letter was F. Fair, fear, fright, flock, and fable. I think all of those words there should be within your vocabulary, year 5. Add one letter to the word in capital letters to make a new word. The meaning of the new word is given in the clue. So you had to add a letter to the word case and change it to mean to come to an end, and that is cease. Okay, if you cease something or you cease to exist, it means you have come to an end. And then lower, blossom. We've been doing flowers, year 5, in our science, so hopefully you got that. Remove one letter from the word. So make sure you read the questions carefully. Question 3 was remove a letter, not add a letter. Okay, so it said remove one letter from desert to mean abandon. Okay. And that is D-E-S-E-R-T. We need to know the difference between desert, as in a pudding, and to abandon something. Okay. Then you've got health, open land. That is a tricky one. Heath. Okay. You may not know that word. Open land. Heath, you might find out sort of in the Yorkshire moors, etc. Heath of land. And then fourth. Another word for fourth, and that is the meaning is forward. So we've got to take a letter out, and that is forth, to go forth. F-O-R-T-H. Again, that's quite tricky. Question 3, I reckon there. B and C, quite tricky questions. So don't worry if you didn't get them. You're learning vocabulary now doing this, and I think hopefully realizing that you need to be going into these verbal reasoning tests with a very good vocabulary. So hopefully you've got that. It's something that we've been developing over this last year. It requires lots of reading, lots of practicing your spellings. So all of these things you've done, these types of questions you've not seen before. However, this type of work we have done before. Okay, in this new section, it's all about changing letters to make new words. This type of question is very similar to the previous one. It also tests vocabulary knowledge and spelling skills, nothing new. As with many other verbal reasoning question types, you need to use a careful and methodical approach to finding the answers. So, in the first example, you need to remove one letter from the first word and add it to the second word. You must make sure that you have made 2 new proper words that are spelt correctly. Again, don't write anything down for this one, year 5. I just want you to look, and we'll talk about how we work the answer out. Move one letter from the first word and add it to the second word to make 2 new words. Hunt and sip. So I'm going to move to the next slide. The easiest way is to work carefully through the first word from left to right, removing each letter in turn. So the letter removed, H-U-N-T, letters left, U-N-T, H-N-T, H-U-T, and H-U-N, hut, okay. Hun, yes, but that's a proper name, okay, like Tiller, the Hun. When the remaining letters make a proper word, try the letter removed in all possible positions in the second word to see if a new word can be created. So you've got your sip, and then you're using N to add to sip. Oh, look at that. Snip. Okay, unsip and simp and sippen aren't words, but snip is. So in this example, the 2 new words are hut. So taking the N from the hut and adding it to the SIP to make snip. In this next version, you still have to make a new word, but as the format is different, it might seem a little more confusing. Don't panic, Year 5! Don't panic. If you follow a similar careful process and ask yourself the same types of questions, you will find the right answer. Okay, so let's work through this example. I'm going to say now, this is quite tricky, Year 5. So I'm just going to read through everything on the screen and let's see how we get on. The question is, change the first word into the last word by changing one letter at a time and making a new different word in the middle. There's a lot of steps there. So case, you've got to be able to change that into lash in 2 steps. The new word you have to make will form the first step in the sequence. So we're looking for a word in the middle there that is like a step, changing case to lash. So let's look first at the letters in the first word, which are different from the last word. So you've got the letters C and E, because in case, and when you compare that to lash, you've got the A and the S, but you've got C and E that you need to change. So only one of these letters can be changed at a time. So only the C or the E can be changed at one moment in time. Which one will form a new word that can be changed into lash? So let's take each letter in turn. So you've got case. Okay, if we change the C to an L, we've got lace and then lash. Although lace sounds like a proper word, you know that that's not spelled correctly. Lace is L-A-C-E. So let's have a look at case, and this time changing the letter E to the H. So you've got case, we change the E to the H, and you've got cash. And then the cash, we change the C to an L, and we've got lash. Cash is a proper word spelled correctly. Double check, okay? That's what you need to do, that this is the correct answer by working through the second step in sequence. Case, cash, lash. Sometimes this question type appears with 2 blanks in the middle, and this means the first word will change into the last word in 3 steps, and you must find the words that form the first 2 of these steps. That is a little more difficult. I mean, I'm actually saying this is quite tricky. So it might be a question type that if you think, oh my goodness me, I just don't get this one, it might be a question that you skip. Some of you might be seeing this and go, yeah, that's fine. Some of you might be thinking, that might take me a little bit longer to work out the answer. Not that I can't work out the answer, but I know through practice, this type of question takes me more time. So I need to maybe look at it, consider it, and go, no, I'm going to miss this one, and I'm going to come back to it if there is time at the end. Okay, Year 5, now it's your turn. Now I know there's only 3 questions, but they're broken up into a number of sub-questions, and I'm going to give you 5 minutes with Debussy. Okay, so you had 5 minutes for that. That is much longer than you'd have in a paper to answer these questions. Let's see how you've got on. So the first question, it said move one letter from the first word and add it to the second word to make two new words. I'm going to just try and reveal those there. There we go. So you had bead and crow. So you're taking the R out of bread and putting it in cow to make bead and crow. Place became place. Okay, place as in fish and place as in a place. And we remove the I to make said. And then we move the S to make tray and add it to lowly to make slowly. Okay. In question 2, I revealed 3 there as well. Maybe you didn't spot that. It said change the first word into the last word by changing one letter at a time and making a new different word in the middle. This is about looking at the letters that are similar in each of the words. So land became lane, lane became lame. Fold became hold, and hold became whole. And then fire became fine, and fine became find. And then question 3, the tricky one. Okay, I was looking at that there, and I was working it out in my head, working through it, and trying a few number things myself, a few different things. Okay, I've not looked at these for a while, so I can't remember the answers. Absolutely no chance. But I was working through it logically and methodically, and I got the right answers. Yes, well done, Mr. Todd. You can go on to impressive. I'll give myself a sticker. So then became thin, and thin became chin. Bell became sell, and sell became seal. And then seal became seen. Okay. Question 3, tricky. I think question 1 and 2 are definitely achievable. That's where you're going to be picking up your marks. Question 3, harder question. Okay, harder question, much harder, but one that you might be able to have a go at. You don't get half marks here. You've basically got to complete the whole answer. Okay, I hope you're still going strong, year 5. This is a long section, probably one of the longest ones that we've got. We've got 2 sections left. Select the best words to make a complete sentence. And this type of verbal reasoning question tests your understanding of word definitions and how words relate to each other in sentences. I think this is probably one of the easiest ones, okay? So look at this example. Don't write anything, just look and listen. Complete the following sentence by selecting the most sensible word from each group of words given in the brackets. Underline the word selected. The children books foxes, carried the houses books steps, home from the greengrocer library factory. The easiest way to solve questions is to break the sentence down into phrases. This way you can assess what's the most sensible word will be each. I'm going to zip through this one because I think this one, compared to what we've just done, is fairly straightforward. So let's have a look. Putting the 3 most sensible options together, I'm not even going to go through that table. The children carried the books home from the library. Okay? Simple sentence. Not actually a brilliant sentence, to be honest, if we're talking about writing in year 5. I'm sure we could think of a few other words that we can add there, noun phrases, etc., to make that a better sentence. But that's what you're not having to do anyway, so don't worry about that. But that is a straightforward sentence. Okay, so look at this example. Choose the word or phrase that makes each sentence true. A library always has posters, a carpet, books, DVDs, and stairs. Okay, only one option is always true. A library always has books. Let's hope you go to libraries. Year 5. Now it's your turn. I'm giving you 2 minutes because I'm generous like that. Message will self-destruct in 30 seconds. You've got 10 seconds, year 5. One of my favourite films, or franchises of films anyway. So, it's your turn. You had to complete the following sentences by selecting the most sensible word from each group of words given in the brackets. Underline the word selected. I hope you've realised, year 5, and obviously I didn't say this at the beginning, I wasn't expecting you to write out the whole sentence, just write the words down. Not write the sentence out with all 3 words in brackets, then underline it. You'll probably still be on question 1A, but I'm assuming that you've been sensible and realised that you didn't need to do that. So let's have a look at 1A. I'm going to try and slowly reveal. Ooh, there we go. 1A and 1B. The sun warmed the seeds in the ground. Those sentences, really simple sentences. The candle shed light around the room. That shed might have thrown you a little bit. That means shed light, sort of gives light. Question 2, change one word so that the sentence makes sense. Underline the word you are taking out and write your new word on the line. Let's have a look. The cyclist applied her toes as she went around the bend. I think if she applied her toes to the ground, they'd probably be ripped to shreds. So I think that's brakes. And then the man planted a tree to give him more light in his back garden. Sure, you recognise that doesn't make sense. Okay, light should be shade. You plant a tree to give you shade, year 5. And again, you've talked about shadow. I'm pretty sure that was either year 3 or year 4 in science. In fact, that might even go back to infants and year 1 and 2. And then it said, choose the word or phrase that makes each sentence true. A dog always has a bone, a collar, eyes, a lead, and short fur. Okay, so unless you have a blind dog, your answer should have been eyes. And a pond always has water. It doesn't always have fish. It doesn't always have lilies. It doesn't always have ducks. And it definitely doesn't always have frogs. Although we've been talking about frogs' life cycles, haven't we? So a pond always has water. Hope you did okay with that. I think that was fairly straightforward. Me giving you 2 minutes, I think actually I could have given you 30 seconds for that one. Let's move on. And yes, year 5, this is the last section. Find a connection to complete a sentence or word pair. These questions are called analogies. They test your ability to spot a connection or relationship between 2 concepts or items, and then apply the same link to something else. In verbal reasoning tests, analogies can appear in several different forms. So let's look at this. No answers on your sheets. Don't be trying to answer them. Just listen to me and look at the screen. Complete the following expression by filling in the missing word. Pen is to ink as brush is to. So in this example, you may think of the following relationships between pen and ink. A pen is used with ink. and a pen makes a mark with ink. Okay, so I'm hoping that actually the word popped up in your head there, paint. Okay, have these questions revealed a common answer? Yes. In this example, the word that will complete the second pair is paint. You've got what is a brush used with, how does a brush make a mark? Not by brushing or using dyes or ink, but by using paint. This next version, I'm going to move on, of an analogy question also gives you a complete first pair, and then you must use your powers of investigation, being detectives, year 5, as before, to find the relationship between the words. The difference with this type of question is that you have to choose both words for the second pair from a set of given options. That sounds complicated, but let's have a look. So, smile is to happiness as drink, tear, shout is to whisper, laugh, sorrow. Now, there's quite a few steps to this, but this is the process of working through the question. Don't worry, you're not going to have to write all of these things down. You're going to be assimilating this, processing it, looking at this question, and looking at alternatives, okay? So, when we talk about smile, it's a visible sign, it's a mood, it's a state, or it's a feeling, okay? And then we look at these other words, okay? So drink and whisper. There's no connection there. Drink and laugh. People may laugh when drinking, especially if it's a glass of Prosecco, but drink does not express laughter. And people may drink because they are unhappy, but drink does not express sorrow, okay? Funny how that's all about drink. Anyway, moving on. Tear and whisper, no connection. Tear and laugh. These are opposite. Tear and sorrow, yes. A tear is a visible sign that can express sorrow. This is the same link as in the first pair. Let's have a look at the other ones. Shout, whisper, opposite. Shout, laugh. There's no connection there. Shout, sorrow. People may shout when they are unhappy, but shouting does not express sorrow. So, the answer, after going through all of that, hopefully you can see that smile is to happiness as tear is to sorrow. Last example I'm going to give you for this type of question, not all analogies will show you the common connection, the connection between the first pair of words. In this type of question, you need to use, again, your detective skills. You will all become amazing detectives with your options given to find the same relationship. Don't try and answer this. Just listen. Let's have a look at the example and prepare ourselves for the final sort of questions that I'm going to give you. Complete the following sentence in the best way by choosing one word from each set of brackets. So tall is to, tree, short, colour, as narrow is to, thin, white, wide. As before, you work through each possible pair. You've got tall tree. Some trees are tall, but not all. So there's not really a connection there. Tall and short. This is a pair of opposites. This pair has a clear relationship. And tall and colour. No connection there. Let's move on to the next slide. You've got narrow, thin. This is a pair of synonyms. These words have a different relationship to the first pair. Narrow, white. No connection. Narrow, wide. Opposite. These words have the same clear connection as the first pair. The words to select in this example are short and wide. Okay, year 5, this is your last one for the evening of Now It's Your Turn. I'm going to play Debussy. Don't fall asleep. I'm going to give you 5 minutes. Don't rush, that's plenty of time. Have a go at these questions. have 2 minutes, year 5. Wake up those people who've fallen asleep. Some of you might be wondering what Mr. Todd does when those 5 minutes are going on, making a cup of tea, going to watch the football. No, I was actually sat there just listening to that, having a bit of a reflective moment. That piece of music I love. I think I said that in the first tutorial session that I provided. I hope you're getting to like it too. Debussy and Clair de Lune. This is me, Mr. Todd. Finishing for the evening. Sounded like a radio DJ. Anyway, so complete the following expressions by filling in the missing word. Teacher is to pupil as doctor is to, light is to eye as sound is to, and rain is to water as hail is to. I'm going to sneakily reveal, hopefully not reveal all the answers in one go. Oh, there we go. So, teacher is to pupil as doctor is to patient. Light is to eye as sound is to ear, because light and eye, part of the body, part of your face, part of your senses, as sound is to ear. And rain is to water as hail is to ice. That's the tricky one, I reckon, out of there. Choose 2 words, one from each set of brackets to complete the sentences in the best way. Food is to hunger as milk glass drink is to famine, thirst, ice. Apple is to orchard as Great France wine is to plantation, vineyard and greenhouse. And statue is to sculptor as paint building design is to decorator, plan, architect. Let's have a look for question 2. So we have food is to hunger as drink is to thirst. Apple is to orchard as, no, it's orchard, as grape is to vineyard, and statue is to sculptor as building is to architect. Some of you may become architects. I've seen some amazing DT skills, especially those people that built bridges for DT earlier in the year. And then finally, question 3. Yes, we are there. I might need to move. Oh, can I move this up? Oh, no. Oh, there we go. There we go. Slide that down there. There we go. Tourist is to visitor as resident is to inhabitant. That's a tricky one. Poem is to poet as author, or a story is to author. That's I think that's one you should definitely nail there, year 5. And dictionary is to meaning, as map is to location. That's it, year 5. That's a big section. That's a big session we've had this evening, or whenever you're watching this tutorial. I hope you've enjoyed it. You know, you're learning a lot, and this is all practice for verbal reasoning and your entrance exams. And hopefully, I'm giving you a little bit of help prior to you breaking up for your summer holidays. Those people are doing entrance exams. You're not having a summer holiday, didn't you know? You need to spend all your time practicing verbal reasoning. Anyway, I'm going off to watch the second half of the Spain-France game. I believe Spain were winning last time I looked. Yes, I was having a sneaky peek whilst you were doing those questions. Have a good evening, and I will see you all soon. But please bring in any work that you've done from this evening. Show me so that I can see who's done it. I'm not going to mark it. It's not about homework. I'm not going to mark it. But I'd like to know who's actually listening to me and who's actually having a go at these questions. Okay, speak to you soon.